I'm Mary Stuart, and I grew up in San Francisco. Before me, my parents also lived in San Francisco. My mom was the second to the youngest of 7 children. And her parents came from Ukraine. They were Jewish, and they were escaping the kind of life that Ukraine offered. It wasn't good. They started in Montreal, Canada, and then they came to San Francisco because there were other relatives there. And my mom grew up in the city of San Francisco. She met her husband to be at a dance in the Mission District, and they got married in City Hall. Because she was Jewish, I believe that my paternal grandma, that is my father's mother, was not all that pleased with it. And my mother did say that she called her that Jew. But I never saw that, and I never heard it. And as time went on, it was the paternal grandma that I spent a good amount of time with, and I never heard her say anything derogatory about my mother. They got married in 1928, and my brother was born in 1934. And I'm sure the reason that they waited to have children was because of the Great Depression. Life was very hard, so they just waited. They had me 7 years after my brother, so I was born in 1941. I was born in San Francisco at St. Mary's Hospital. I went to Laguna Honda School on 7th and Irving Street in the Sunset District, and then I went to Lowell High School, which was in the Haight-Ashbury neighborhood, and then I went to San Francisco State College. So the first house I remember is at 1277 Arguello Boulevard in San Francisco, just down the hill from where is now the UC Medical Center. And I walked to school every day, 7 blocks down Irving Street to go to Laguna Honda School. And then when I was ready to go to high school, I used to take a bus to the Haight-Ashbury District and walk down the street to where Lowell High School was. And then I took the bus to San Francisco State University for 4 years to get my bachelor's degree. In college, I majored in English, English literature and English as a language. And I always had an interest in books and plays and poetry, and all of that was part of that major. So after college, I didn't want to just go and get a job and stay where I was. So I applied for a job with the United States government to work with social services that were given to GIs who were stationed overseas. So I was assigned to go to Germany and run what was called a service club, and I did that for 2 years. When I got back from Germany, I decided I better do something a little more practical, so I got my teaching credential and taught high school English. And I taught for about 3 years. Chuck was also a returning person getting his credential. However, he had returned from the Peace Corps in Liberia, West Africa. And we met in the hallways in the secondary education department because we both had jobs there. He was assigned to deliver the mail to the different offices of the professors. And so he would walk down the hall with kind of a cart full of mail, but he would be whistling. But it wasn't whistling popular songs, it was whistling things like Brahms and Beethoven and Mozart. And so I kind of paid attention to that, and we started to chat and then got to know each other better, and we started going out, and then we got married. We got married, and we rented an apartment in San Francisco, and then finally there was a point where we wanted to buy a house, and other teachers that I taught with suggested that we look in Pacifica because prices were more reasonable than on the peninsula. And so we bought a house in Ballymore, house in Pacifica. We had our son in 1975, and we had our daughter in 1979. Is that right? I'm not sure if that's right. No, he was born in 1972 and she was born in 1975. So when Kate was 1 and Andy was 4, a house was being built up the street, which was a little bigger, and we looked at it and we went ahead and bought it. And we lived there for 40 years. I have a lot of favorite memories about life in on Minerva in Pacifica. Some of the best are the family gatherings in the family room around the fireplace, looking out on the deck, running out to the deck from the family room playing, and that would be Andy and Kate when they were little kids, and then much later them bringing our grandchildren over to do the same thing.
If you let them, don't try to get them before your time. Only don't lose what you got.